Hey everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins. This is my good buddy Brandon, and we're here tonight to do a review for AEW Fight for the Fallen. I about said WWE. I'm glad I cut myself there.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk a little bit about WWE for just a second before we get into AEW's Dynamite review. But before we do that, if you're finding this for the very first time or you are a returning viewer and have not yet done so, please click that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some breaking news from WWE. If the reports are true, well, let's preface it by saying that some reports out there are now saying that WWE are going to be doing a Queen of the Ring tournament where they will be doing matches in the tournament on Raw and SmackDown leading up to the Saudi Arabia show in October, and the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament will be at the Saudi Arabia show. So I personally feel like this is kind of WWE's response to the Mickie James NWA announcement that they were going to have an all-women's pay-per-view, possibly. But this has also been a talk amongst the fan community of when WWE was ever going to bring back the King of the Ring. So instead of the King of the Ring, now they're doing the Queen of the Ring. So thoughts on this, Brandon? Anything in particular?
I mean, I wouldn't mind doing the King of the Ring. I've always liked that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it like you used to do it. And honestly, a Women of the Ring doesn't sound bad. Like, in all honesty, it doesn't. As long as it's not a publicity stunt.
Yeah, as long as you let them wrestle. That's the thing. Not, let's do hypnosis. Let's do,
You make it a legit tournament.
Yes, make it a legit thing to where these women have to earn this, opportunity, this mantle, so to speak.
That would be dope.
And make it important. Don't, just don't do it just for the sake of doing it. We know Vince McMahon doesn't care for tournaments in general, but if you do this right, it can be very good. And something.
Charlotte Flair wins your first one.
Yeah, most likely, being it's called the Queen of the Ring. I would not be surprised. And if that's the case, it's going to suck to a degree because they have to get her over like that. And if you don't believe us, just watch the end of Monday Night Raw this week. So anyway, with that being said, let's move on to the actual show that we wanted to get into here tonight.
Okay, first, real quick.
Okay.
Just because I've seen this and I feel like I have to say it.
Okay.
Workmen digging up a well in a man's backyard discovered a $100 million windfall, or a 2.5 million carat sapphire cluster. It weighed 1,100 pounds. The sapphire, over $100 million is what this thing is worth. I'm sorry, I just read that shit and I was like, excuse me?
And I'm going to get it back on board with wrestling. Hey, Dusty Rhodes had a manager named Sapphire once, so hey, wrestling related.
Oh, yeah, he did.
So, yes. See how I brought that back around? All right, so I'm getting us back on track. No.
I was just like, the hell?
If you want to see more conversations like this, watch our FBC Fat Boy Cartel podcast that airs on Monday on the channel. So keep an eye out for that. So with that being said, let's get into
my bad.
Right, back to wrestling. That's what people pay to see here. AEW Fight for the Fallen was tonight from Charlotte, North Carolina, as what's his name would say, Justin Roberts in the ring. The show started off with Adam Hangman Page. A video played after JR and Company introduced the show. A voiceover talked about Adam Page's cowboy spirit and his camaraderie. The Dark Order then got a special interest with the remix of Page's theme, which was really special. This came off like, a big deal. Adam Hangman Page was in purple accented gear to kind of go along with the Dark Order look here, and they actually look like a legit team, and I thought this was a very well done entrance. I don't know about you. What do you think?
No, I yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The Elite were called the Elite Squad, playing off of the newly released Space Jam: A New Legacy on HBO Max and in theaters now. To me, it's kind of like, all right, cheesy plugs. Well, as long as they don't bring in zombies, I guess we're ahead of the game. But it's at the same time, it's like, okay. They were definitely introduced like a basketball team in basketball gear. Justin Roberts announced Kenny Omega as Kenny Air Omega, as Kenny was wearing a number 23 shirt that said Elite Squad on the front of it. They came out to get ready for this. And, so, yeah, that was definitely a little weird, but yeah, since this was a team effort, I guess they were just kind of playing off that. One thing I wish they didn't do was have Don Callis wear these short shorts. That was not something I wanted to see, personally. But they even made reference to it on commentary. But anyhow, let's get the most controversial thing on this show out of the way, all right? The Elite versus Page and Dark Order. All things considered, this was a pretty fantastic match, but the booking is a little suspect. Let's put it's a little baffling. The stipulation was Adam Hangman Page's team wins. He earns an AEW World Championship shot, and a Dark Order tag team earns a tag title shot. There's a lot going on here. I don't want to necessarily break down everything move for move because that'll take us all night long. But one of the things that kind of started off early on.
Wait, what was the other part of that stipulation? If he wins, he gets the title shot, and Dark Order gets the title shot. But if he loses, he can't get a title shot as long as Kenny's champion.
Well, they didn't say as long as Kenny's well, they I don't know if they actually said as long as Kenny's champion, but he did say you don't get a title shot. But I think the implication is there that it's, from Kenny, absolutely. And the same with the Dark Order. They don't get a tag. Now, the Dark Order not getting a tag title shot is not going to be as big of a deal. But the Hangman Page stuff is interesting. We're going to kind of discuss about maybe why they did what they did here. But like I said, this match, typical 10-man, craziness, spots fest, things like that here. Their AEW style wrestling match here for sure. Referee had no control, which that's to be expected in this match, even though AEW sometimes have trouble with their refs a little bit anyway. It's gotten better, but this match here was impossible. Basically, long story short here, I believe it was Alex Reynolds got the pinfall on Carl Anderson after some spots they did. He took a quadruple team. There were multiple men hitting him at the same time, so he got pinned. So number one half of the TNA World Tag Team Champions gets pinned here. So we have discussed many times on this show, including last week, about how they were going to handle this when it comes to pinning the champions. And if we're going to criticize other companies like WWE for doing it, we have to be fair, as he wants to fly. But we have to be fair here and criticize AEW for doing it when they do it. Now, we've also discussed here on the channel that the reason why I'm not defending AEW for pinning the champions. I wouldn't have necessarily gone about it that way, obviously. So I'm going to call it out where it's due. But we've also talked about the reason why it's a big problem at WWE is because they do it every single week with all their champions except for Roman Reigns. And I'm waiting for it to happen with him. But everybody else gets pinned on a regular basis. The AEW they pinned the Bucks a month and a half ago or whatever it was, but they've not. Other than that, they've never beat their champions like this.
Bobby Lashley lost
twice to Kofi and Xavier.
Yeah, and Bucks lost twice so far.
Yes, so twice.
I mean, on par with those two, but it still makes no sense for them to lose.
The difference is Bobby is the world champion, but yes, it still don't make any sense to this. Now, again, I've been saying here on the channel, on my Raw reviews and things like that, you could pin champions on rare occasions. If it makes sense, too, on rare occasions. So you can argue maybe this didn't make complete sense. Well, after the end of this, maybe you could have done this a different way.
Yeah.
But we'll get to it. When we get to the end of this, we'll definitely discuss a little bit more about that. But they pinned one half the TNA Tag Champions here, which you mentioned. It's kind of they didn't pin Gallows because right after this, Gallows and Stu Grayson got counted out. So they beat him, but they didn't pin Gallows. Yeah. So okay. We've discussed how TNA the TNA or Impact Company in general has not been getting a whole lot of this out of this AEW partnership other than Kenny going on the show. So it kind of lends to the fact that maybe they are getting the short end of the stick here. Absolutely.
To me, like I said when we were talking about it, like we talked about it last week too. I said if your end goal was to happen for what happened to happen, you could have went around this a totally different way without involving the amount of people you involved.
Right.
You could have just set it up to where it was Kenny winner take all situation where it was if you beat me, then you get not only do you get your title match, but we'll also give the Dark Order a title match. Okay? Because this way you've only had to pin one. So you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, the elimination made it where you had to pin them all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
And in this, but also this way too, this was a way for Kenny to step out too if you'd have done it in a singles match situation where he could have said, I never said you'd wrestle me.
Yeah, and they shouldn't do that.
And then, boom, you could substitute him for Nakazawa or Cutler.
Yeah, that would have been an easy win for Page. But then Kenny would have known that, though, so he'd have to somehow get some nefarious means.
But you could have still got the end result.
Yeah.
Just, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, at least this way, the only argument I'd say for this going the way it did tonight, compared to that scenario, if you put him up against Cutler or Tozawa, you got to keep Page looking strong based on the fact that he didn't win this.
Yeah, you could have done that the same way, though.
with outside interference.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know how strong he would have looked if he was getting beat down by 4 or 5 other guys of the group. You know what I'm saying? This here, he held his own, and he got cheated out of this, so to speak, with interference, which we're going to talk a little bit about that too.
That's
but
one
yeah,
thing that I hated too, like the interference part. Like I said,
yeah, we'll get to that when we get to the end of the match. But so that was basically 2 Dark Order guys out. Well, no, 1 Dark Order guy out, and 2 the Good Brothers out.
Elite guy, yeah.
Yes, and then I believe after this, Evil Uno got pinned with a 1-winged angel by Omega after he got hit with a V trigger. So now it's 3-on-3, and then let's see here. It kind of gets again. There's just so much going on in this. I can't remember what are the other Dark Order members got eliminated. I think it was Angel. Oh, it was Angel who got pinned by the 1-winged angel. And then Uno got pinned again as well. So then it became 3-on-2, right? And so after this, let's see here, 3-on-2. So then Johnny Huggy gets taken out of this match. So it's 3-on-1. Adam Hangman. That's the biggest story here. The Dark Order. We all know they're not the strongest build team in general. So they get pretty well eliminated. Adam Hangman Page pretty much has to go it alone, which we kind of predicted a little bit. He may be down 3-1, 4-1. Yeah.
That they're booked like that. When they made their debut, it was such a big impact. And now here we are.
A lot's happened out of their control with Brody Lee, but yeah, they could book them better, and it's good to see them with the overall biggest babyface star in the company right now. So that's a good thing for them. But yeah, I think they just need to continue to hopefully rehab them a little bit after everything that went down with Brody Lee, and hopefully we'll get on the right track. But yeah, it is interesting to know here before I believe. I think it was Johnny Huggy before he got eliminated. They tried a Meltzer driver on the outside with a springboard off the top rope. One of the Young Bucks went to dunk a basketball through the basketball goal they had out there for their gimmick, and he missed the dunk, but they still hit the driver and they picked the ball back up and dunked. So they got a chant of "You still missed, you still missed." So yeah, I thought that was entertaining, but a little unnecessary.
But that's a little foolish.
But
in the middle of a wrestling match,
right? But they were showing off, kind of like the Bucks. Their gimmicks been lately. So basically the ending here, let's get into this here. Omega tagged in and gave Page a one-on-one fight, which was actually really good. He spat in Page's face and hit a V-trigger. Page came back with a running uppercut. The Bucks ran in with double super kicks and then did it again with Omega as their third for a good near fall. A draping 450 splash followed for a 2 count. Page avoided a V-trigger, flipped out of a German suplex. He then dispatched both Bucks with a double clothesline before hitting an Orihara moonsault? I think that's how you say that. Omega hit a big chop back in the ring, but Page came back with a stack powerbomb, and the Bucks broke up the pin. Matt inadvertently pushed Page into a perfect buckshot lariat position. He fought off one, but then Page was able to hit a double buckshot on both Young Bucks here, pinning Matt for an elimination. So again, they pinned the one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions here. So, and like I told you, well, of course, without the how often they do it, argument attack. In this case, they didn't pin both Bucks, and it is a 10-man tag. But again, they still pin the champion. I'm not making excuses, so we got to call it out. But I was glad that they saved Omega from getting pinned. That's a big plus here. But Omega tried to use the belts, but the official stopped him from using one, which is crazy because they got tons of them. So Page avoided and hit he hit Page with a second belt here, and then he hit the Deadeye for a great near fall. He avoided the shot. Then Page hit the Deadeye. Omega avoided a buckshot lariat and smashed Page with another belt for an awesome near fall. Then 2 V-triggers later, followed by Omega hitting the one-winged angel, which is a move that nobody's kicked out of in AEW, so they protected that. And Adam Hangman Page gets pinned and loses the match. So they're playing the very, very, very long game here with Adam Hangman Page. Now, we can get into about why.
It's been a long.
I understand. But part of me's not going to lie, though. I do appreciate the fact that they don't just pull it. It's been, a year at least even? It's probably even longer. I do like the fact that they don't pull the trigger right away. But we are getting to the point where it's like, all right, it's been a year and a half. You got to pull the trigger or not. Now, I still think, personally, after especially what happens here in a little bit, which we're going to talk a little bit more about, I still think that Adam Hangman Page is winning the title at All Out in September. How they're going to get there now with this stipulation, I don't know. Or maybe they've changed their plans and called an audible, as we've discussed, because CM Punk and Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson is coming to the company.
But why?
I don't know. I mean, like I mentioned to you, maybe the reason is because if you're going to put Daniel Bryan or CM Punk in the title picture, which I don't think AEW would necessarily do from the get-go, because they got this thing where you earn title opportunities, so let's hope they stick to that. But if you were going to give them title shots, Kenny Omega would be better than to go against the babyface Hangman Page, because Punk and Bryan will not get booed. So that may be the reason.
It doesn't have to be a heel and a face situation.
Well, it's true. It doesn't. It works better that way.
You can have that fighting champion where the crowd is 50-50 split between who they want to win here.
Mm-hmm. Right, I agree. And you don't have to do that. You're right. But that's just a theory of mine. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just spitballing here. I'm trying to speculate. There could be a lot of reasons. There's also the idea going around that because of the Delta variant with the COVID situation, that perhaps AEW is concerned about having to shut down live events again for a while and have to go back to Daily's Place. If that's the case, maybe they're thinking we still want to have Adam Hangman Page win the belt, but after we are for sure going to have live crowds. Now, hopefully that doesn't happen, and they'll still have live crowds at All Out in Chicago and New York and all that stuff that they got planned. But that could be played into it. We just don't know what their plans are right now. So I think to judge this prematurely is not a smart way to go about it. No. But I understand your point, though, because they have been teasing this for a while, and it's like poop or get off the pot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you're right.
And that's what I'm getting at. It's like from the start, you know, when it was Hangman Page and Jericho. Right. This story started then. Yeah. And then we saw, you know, when Kenny and Page were tag champs, we saw the decline of Hangman. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, when that happened, they split. Kenny turned heel, you know, turned on him and all that. And then you got this dejected kind of Page, and then he's with the Dark Order, and they're steady trying to build him up. And then it gets to that point to where he's like, you know what? I'm going to do this. Right. And then boom. So now we're back in this whole decline phase again, to where like it's like he psyched himself up to do it, lost, and now we're back at square one.
And you're not wrong on that regard. Now I don't know how much of a decline he's going to take this time, because, like you said, they told that story, and I think this time since he lost, now he is over more than he's ever been right now. So what they've done, I think, has gotten him more over with the crowd. So that's a good thing. I don't necessarily think that this is going to kill him, because unlike last time, I don't think he's going to regress. I think he's going to probably, because the way they did this, it was 3-on-1. He took out one of the three before he basically got cheated out of it by getting hit with the belt after some interference, which is another problem with this match. A lot of interference. We've discussed that with all companies. That needs to cut back. But there is a thing I'll talk to you about in a minute about Tony Khan's comments. But I don't think it's going to hurt him too bad, because now he's going to know that he could do this, and he's going to push even harder now, I think. Yeah. And that's fine. So that's a good story, telling right there, I think, because you've come full circle, and now he's got the confidence, and he's going to do it now. But how, again, now that they booked it where he can't challenge Kenny, I'm be interested to see if they do this at All Out, how they're going to get out of it. But it sounded like, because later on in the show, on commentary, they were discussing the match earlier in the night with this here, and they said, now Adam Hangman Page is not the number one ranked contender, so someone else is going to be taking that spot. So they have at least an idea of what they're going to do, otherwise they wouldn't have said that, in my opinion. But yeah, it's one of those things to me, if this was a Karrion Kross situation on Raw, where they pinned the NXT champion from the get-go, to me, that is a big difference than this, because in a Karrion Kross case, no matter where the story is going, they already screwed that up. That was egregious.
They wanted to teach him a lesson type thing.
Yeah, it was a backstage politics.
Back and have a conversation.
Right.
Not do what you did.
This is a different situation to me, where it's like, okay, it seems like they've got a specific story in mind. I'm willing to wait it out and see where they're going. But
I am too, but it's just like I said before, it's just like,
yeah. A lot of questions.
If your outcome was going to be what it was, you could have done this in a different way.
You could. It's just, a lot of questions, as you said in our offline chat. We were discussing this a little bit.
Yeah, I have a lot more questions.
But, in a way, I got to think about this too. That's not a bad thing. To keep you wondering where they're going, because that keeps the intrigue alive. There's nothing wrong with that. But, again, you got to pay it off. But we may look back in a month and they do nothing with this, and we'll be like, all right, that was not good. That was
Then it was
poor
all for naught. Then
right.
you're right.
So
then it's like one of those like, okay, well, what was the whole point in that?
yeah, but we may a month from now we'd be like, all right, let's see what they're doing. And there's all people saying the same thing about WWE. Oh, you got to wait and see what they're going. But the problem with WWE is they don't normally pay that off. We've had the past history to where they've shown us they're not going to pay it off because they don't know what they're doing. Here, it seems like normally they've got something in mind. It may not be the most greatest story ever, but they at least have something in mind. So I'm willing to give them a little bit of it out for now. But yes, if it turns out to be for nothing, this could have been booked a completely different way. You wouldn't have had to pin your champions at all, and you could have gone about this a wholly different way. But
have to pin the TNA champions because, like I said, like in the long run, it's like with Gallows and Anderson. Like I said, it's the same situation. They could go back there to TNA and somebody could cut a nice promo on them saying, how the hell are you our champions, but you got beat by the guys on a different...
and they could play
off. You know
what
I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, it sucks because it's like you can't come out here and be this boasting and threatening, saying you're a dominant tag team when you literally just got beat on another program.
Right. That's a good point. I mean, they could use that to their advantage on Impact and be like, oh, you lost now. You're going to definitely lose to whoever wants to challenge them. You can play off that, kind of like what they did with the IWGP thing in New Japan a little bit later. But
I mean, that's
it's a little different because Lance looks strong here, not what.
Yeah, that's a different... Because you had a dominant champion in Moxley, and Moxley, obviously, he was leaving for family reasons, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but he also teases something later on, too. So
I know.
We'll get to that. So that's not over yet either. So, but yeah, we'll get into that.
Tanahashi, wait, is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Tanahashi.
Tanahashi?
Yeah, I think it's Tanahashi, yeah.
He was the guy I was talking about at work.
Yeah,
big
time star in New Japan, for sure.
Yeah, I was like, he's the guy that tagged with Naito before Naito went down to Mexico and all that shit. He was Naito's tag partner. But yeah, Tanahashi's done everything. That's totally separate. That belt, way more weight and lean.
Yeah, right now, absolutely, you're right. And Lance didn't lose, so yes.
No, and you have
I'm just talking about from interpromotional storytelling, like they're doing a little bit out with New Japan.
But that's done the right way.
Right, agreed. Yeah, you're right. This particular belt is not at the moment, and you're not wrong. But going back to the end of this match, how there was interference involved too, which we've discussed. We don't. And even Tony Khan's had an interview with the podcast. It was not Busted Open or any of the major ones, but that I've never heard of the podcast. But anyway, he went on to say how he doesn't use DQs and countouts very often at AEW because he said he feels like they're unsatisfying to the fans and to himself personally, and it's better to have winners and losers, even though he feels like countouts it's more of an actual winner-loser situation. But he went on to explain about that's why he doesn't do it. But he didn't rule out the idea of using them more often, but he said he wasn't going to use them. He said you can count on one hand how many times he's used them the entire 2 years AEW's been around. And that's a good thing. And the interference stuff, that's a little more out of control. I'd like to see him kind of raid that into maybe you can count it on two hands. Yeah. So maybe I'm glad he does that with DQs and countouts, but maybe,
Okay, I agree with you. Sometimes DQs and countouts,
but they're warranted,
aren't satisfying.
Yeah, that's what he meant.
Sometimes they're warranted.
Yes, that's what he meant too. The full quote, like I said, it was 2 paragraphs. He did say though, but when we do it, it will make sense storytelling wise. It'll make sense, much like the interference here, in my opinion. Depending on where they go with Hangman Page, maybe he could say, "I was cheated because."
Here's the thing.
I don't know.
If you're touting this man as your champion, hands down. When it comes to Kenny and the fucking Bucks, this is what drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Is there's always this thing with somebody being
well,
there.
And maybe that's the story they're trying to tell. Like, Kenny's going to have to do this on his own. Maybe AEW does a cage match, and maybe at AEW, nobody gets in the cage, unlike other places. I don't know. That's just me speculating again, but I'm just saying maybe that's the story they're trying to tell. Like, okay, maybe Adam will say something. Now he's a babyface. I don't know if he'd come off like as the whining loser here. He probably won't, but he could still bring up the fact that no matter what I do, it's not fair because Kenny always has his buddies around doing it.
But then they could say you had the Dark Order, which no one ran out.
Yeah, they were being the babyface, not cheating. But yeah, it is very convoluted, no doubt about it. So I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with this. This is why I said this is the most controversial part of this show because there's differing opinions here, and yeah. And I get it. It's a little frustrating, but yeah, we'll see what they do. Maybe not their brightest moment. I don't know. It just depends on where they're going, what they got planned, and what all these plans with Punk and Bryan and. I don't know. They got a lot on their plate right now, and hopefully this will all make sense in a few months' time. But right now, it does have a lot of questions, and maybe we'll get some answers. We'll just have to wait and see. But with that being said, let's move on to the rest of the show. So we spent about 20 minutes on that one. But yes, it was warranted because it was one of the biggest issues on the show for sure. After this, Pac was about to be interviewed, but the Lucha Bros weren't there. He said somebody canceled their car. Andrade and Chavo Guerrero walked up, and Chavo said,
I thought this was funny.
Yeah, Chavo said he set up a limo for them. Andrade recommended Pac get better transportation for his associates, or they'll work with someone who will, or work for someone who will. So it seems like they're definitely trying this tug and pull between Pac and Andrade and Chavo, trying to get the Lucha Bros on their side. So, I mean, I even mentioned to one of our friends at work, Nate, I told him, I was like, last week I noticed when Pac was saying, we're a family, we don't work for you, Andrade. Behind Pac, Phoenix leaned over and whispered something to Penta. So I thought that was it. It may have been nothing, or maybe he was like, you know what, maybe we ought to listen to this guy. I don't know.
But then he also cut that promo too after he
yeah, it might have been an interpretation, like trying to.
So I don't.
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't think that's the case because I don't see the reason behind it. Because let's be honest, the Lucha Brothers aren't motivated by money, so you can't use that angle.
True.
They're not motivated by they don't see Pac as a hindrance to him because that's a lie.
Yeah.
Honestly, what
I don't know what the motivation would be. I don't know. Yeah. You'd have to come up with, let's say they double cross Pac. You'd have to come up with a storyline reason as to why. But again, that's classic wrestling booking a little bit, where it's like, all right, they turn on a guy, then the crowd's left with why Lucha Bros, why, But yeah, it's got to be for a good reason. It
has to be a good reason why.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they do it, I'm not sure they will, but they're definitely hinting that it could happen.
If anyone I could see turning it would be Penta more than Phoenix.
Yeah, I just have a hard time they'd break up the team. But maybe I'm wrong. And especially since the rumor is at some point, maybe this fall or winter, that they may be introducing trios titles. But again, Pac and Lucha Bros could go for that, or it could be Andrade and the Lucha Bros. We don't know yet. We'll just have to see where they go. But yeah, this is an interesting turn here. We'll see who ends up getting the services of the Lucha Bros for sure. Next up, we had Ricky Starks in the FTW Championship Celebration. This really wasn't a whole lot here. Cage cut a promo, or I'm sorry, Ricky Starks cut a promo. He said he's been anchoring the group while Cage was focused on being friendly on social media. When Starks broke his neck, Cage didn't even check on him. Cage is selfish and inconsiderate and has no charisma. That's when Brian Cage's music played. He came out, attacked the band members, and he smashed the bass drum over the drummer's head. Stark fled the scene, and he posed on the ramp as Cage wanted to fight. So it was just teasing this feud moving forward. It really wasn't a whole lot to write home about personally. But yeah, I mean, it furthered it, so nothing wrong with it, I suppose. Nothing to write home about either, though.
Wasn't nothing major either. It was just
it really wasn't. Yeah, it was just kind of, all right, we're setting up for what they're doing in the future.
Other than he took way too long to leave the ring.
Yeah, that's true. Were you talking about Starks or Cage? Yeah, I can see that. He just kind of,
Because it wasn't it when he got in the ring, he broke the trumpet, then that's when he dipped?
Yeah, he broke a trumpet, then he smashed the drum, and it looked like it was flowers everywhere, things like that.
I was like, you should have been left.
Yeah, so
the moment he
should have been gone at that point.
Out.
Yeah, I guess he was waiting to see what he'd do. After the trumpet got smashed, though, he should have been gone right then.
Yeah, he should have dipped.
I can believe. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, this was okay. Nothing special. It wasn't the best thing on the show. A video from New Japan Pro Wrestling legend Hiroshi Tanahashi played.
God, I can't wait for that.
He said he'd be challenging the winner of Lance Archer and Hikuleo tonight. Well, you're not going to get it on Dynamite, so I hope you're not looking forward to that. It's going to be.
Watch it on New Japan.
Okay, I was going to say, because a lot of people were speculating on Twitter it was going to be on Dynamite. No. They clarified later on it will be on New Japan Pro Wrestling. So check it out there. So, which I may have to do. That does sound like a good match.
Watch that shit.
Yeah. Then we had FTR, Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler.
Holy Jesus.
Versus Santana or Ortiz. Now, it's typical tag match, good match up to this point, but there was a spot in the match, unfortunately. Cash Wheeler was on the top rope, and I believe he got drop kicked by one of the two of Ortiz and Santana. I can't remember which one. And when he got drop kicked, his arm snapped backward, and when it did, it slapped the steel ring post, and he immediately went to the apron, grabbed his arm. And it looked even from that spot that you could almost see his bone or his forearm sticking out of his arm. Now, obviously, he wasn't able to finish the match, so you could clearly see in the ring that Santana, or one of the two, I get Santana and Ortiz always mixed up a little bit, but one of them was calling the spot to Dax Harwood, and basically, let's go to the finish here. We got to finish this. So he told him to basically beat him, and that's what happened. So the FTR win this match here. But
it was abruptly ended.
Yeah, very quickly. You could just tell. I mean, you could, if you listen close enough, you could hear them communicating with the ref and all the above, knowing that okay, this is something ain't right here. So they went immediately to the finish, and after the match, some trainers were attending to Cash Wheeler on the outside. And if you look close, now it looked like it could even be a bandage they were trying to wrap up with blood or wrap the blood up with, but it looked like his bone was sticking out of his arm. If that's the case, he's got a.
When I first saw it,
yeah,
I thought, how the hell did he cut himself? And I know you were a little bit behind, so I didn't say anything.
I had to rewind to see this because I missed it live.
So I'm like, all right, well, I'm not going to ask him because he probably hasn't seen it yet.
Right.
But I legit was sitting here and I go, how did he cut himself? I didn't know it was that drastic.
Yeah. I mean, at least it looked drastic. Now, again, he was holding his arm a lot. I don't know if he was trying to keep the bone. I don't know what it was. It could be that, or maybe he just cut himself severely. But he immediately grabbed it, so it's like it felt like he broke it. So again, the whiteness that was showing could have been
find out more news,
right? But it looked like a compound fracture to me. And if that's the case, Cash Wheeler's out for a while.
He's gonna be out for a minute.
So I don't know how. Now, if they were using this match to set up the title match against the Young Bucks, that won't happen now.
No.
But that would be two heel teams. I mean, like you said earlier, you could do it. Two heel teams are worse than two baby faces.
Yes.
For whatever
it
you
makes
do,
no
something
sense
like
for
that.
two heel teams.
Right. So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see here. But and of course, you can't book or blame AEW. I mean, they could have called an audible here and had Santana and Ortiz win. But you don't know the severity of FTR's injury. So this is kind of one of those you just kind of got to throw it out and we'll see what they do depending on the severity of the injury. But, Harwood gets the win here after a baseball slide on Santana, and he hit a sheer drop brainbuster on Ortiz for the clean win. So, we'll see what happens. But best wishes to Cash Wheeler here. And hopefully, it seems like FTR has had some injury histories. One of the guys has been hurt before, whatever, in WWE and stuff too. So
Wheeler, actually.
Oh, okay. If it's him again, that's a shame because this is a great tag team. It's just they keep getting derailed by freak accidents for sure. After this, we had Britt Baker and Rebel were backstage. She managed to tap Nyla Rose out with a broken wrist, she said, which is true.
All right, hold on. Is it legit broken?
Yeah, that's what I heard. Okay. She finished the match, and she says she's not taking time off.
The way she was doing all these damn hand gestures, and I was like, I haven't broken my wrist, but I know somebody who has, and this shit right here was not a thing.
Okay, I'll at least say the reports say it was legit. Now, who knows? It is pro wrestling, but
the way she was just throwing her hand around, and I was like,
maybe it was the other hand though. I don't know. Maybe she was using the good hand.
The way she was like, no, because it was the one that was bandaged up because she was holding the title with the other one.
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't think you should be throwing your hand around.
You're like, do I believe you or not? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
supposedly she says it's fine, or she's going. Now, obviously, she didn't wrestle this week. She may not wrestle for a few weeks, but she says she's taking no time off. We'll see how long it is before she's got her next match. Obviously, they don't.
If it is legit broken, like I said, but the way she was just flailing her hand around in that little, I was like, "Yo, pain meds must be good." Then.
Yeah. Now she did go on to say here before this promo was over that her and Rebel needed extra help because everyone's gunning for her. So, are they looking to maybe do some recruiting here?
Awesome call. No, I'm fucking.
Who knows? Obviously, Thunder Rosa just signed with the company, but we'll see her a little later. But I don't think she'd join Britt. If anything, Thunder Rosa would be the one gunning for her. Yeah. But, I mean, I don't know. But they may have something to kind of take the heat off Britt a little bit to kind of maybe help her heal from the injury a little bit. And maybe they're going to bring in somebody else to kind of just have Britt be around and that sort of thing. I don't know, but we'll see what they do. Tony Schiavone revealed the big AEW live event announcement Friday, August 20th, which is, of note, it's the second Rampage show, not the first. It is the second week of Rampage on Friday nights. It's called Rampage First Dance. Will hail from the United Center in, guess where? Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
So they pretty much, with this announcement and what the segment that follows immediately after this, they pretty much confirmed, or at least either that or they're the biggest trolls in wrestling history, and if they don't deliver, they're going to get a hell of a reaction in a bad way. But I don't think that's the case. This pretty much confirms to me and everybody else CM Punk is coming to AEW.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about it. After there was actually a couple references, we'll get into both. But now I didn't really catch any reference to Daniel Bryan tonight personally, but they may have been something there, but I didn't catch it. But there was two very obvious ones for CM Punk. So, and one of them being in this segment here, Darby Allin and Sting were backstage. Darby Allin said AEW is where people prove themselves, even if you're, quote, the best in the world, which was CM Punk's old nickname in WWE. So, yeah, I don't know if that means we'll be getting Darby Allin CM Punk right away, or if it's just, again, big nod by AEW, like, yes, Punk is coming right after the announcement of a Chicago. Now, we speculated that maybe AEW changed course with the Adam Hangman Page due to CM Punk debuting at All Out. If this show is the second week of Rampage and you're trying to get a new show over with, new viewers and stuff, maybe this event at Chicago is where CM Punk debuts, which, ironically enough, is the same weekend and the night before WWE SummerSlam. So that whole weekend, I mean, if you're going to make an impact, that would be the weekend to do it.
Yep.
So look like Tony Khan's kind of going for the juggler here a little bit. So yeah, we'll see what they do though. So yeah, I expect Punk maybe at that show, August 20th. IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship match. Lance Archer defends and defeats Hikuleo here, who came to the ring with his father, King Haku, Ming himself. What? Huh? Brother.
When he comes out,
yeah,
I'm looking and I'm like, dude, he too looks like Haku.
Yeah, he can pull it off still.
Like, and I was like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah,
because like I've seen Tangaloa and I've seen Tama Tonga,
mm-hmm.
and if you were like, those are Haku's kids, I'm like, nah. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe Tangaloa kind of looks like Haku, but Tama Tonga does not.
Yeah, I can see it in Hikuleo. Now, I've not seen what are they called, the Gorillas of Death? Is that what you call them?
Gorillas of Destiny.
Destiny. Okay, so I've not seen them much, but yeah, I mean, this kid looks just like him.
Those are some big boys.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
and that's the younger brother, right? Hikuleo is the younger brother, and he's taller than his two older brothers.
Yeah, and he was dwarfing Lance Archer a little bit, even.
Yeah,
which is
like
crazy.
When he was in the corner, he's like hunched down so Lance can chop him. I'm like, time out.
right. I mean, all things considered, this was kind of a short match. I mean, they got involved during the break, sending Archer into a barricade. Once back, Hikuleo was firmly in control, though. Archer blindsided Hikuleo and hit a big boot followed by some strong strikes with the ripcord clotheslines. Archer walked the top rope and hit a moonsault, which was impressive for that big guy. And of course, he's done it before, but it's just insane to watch. He followed it up with a big superplex for 2. Archer then hit the blackout in the center of the ring to win and retain the title. So Lance Archer will be facing... what's his name? Tanahashi in New Japan, probably fairly soon from the sounds of things. So that'll be good.
I promise you that match will go. It'll re-wrestle differently.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely.
We've seen Lance Archer in New Japan,
mm-hmm.
and it's different. It's different. He's way different than what we see on AEW.
Well, they don't have the television sponsors and things to worry about as much. I wouldn't think. I mean, they are on TV, but it's not like TNT TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, but even so, I didn't think we were going to get the main event we got here in just a little bit either. So maybe TNT doesn't mind so badly, but we'll get into that in a minute. Cody Rhodes was about to be interviewed at the gorilla position, which is interesting. We don't see that all the time in AEW. But Malachi Black attacked him, right away. He didn't even let Cody get a couple words out. Cody got the advantage and hit his drop down right hand, but Black came back with a jumping knee on the ramp. The crowd adored Malachi Black,
not
Alistair.
They were booing the shit out of Cody.
Yeah, they hated Cody, which, again, he's got that, stigma about him where he wants to beat some talent, which, criticism is not unwarranted. Some of the fans are going to let him hear that. And, of course, they love Malachi Black, so they're going to cheer him. Some wrestlers and backstage personnel came out to break it up, but one of them was Fuego Del Sol, who's been getting, over a lot on Dark and Elevation. But Black killed him with a black mass, though.
Walk out.
or as this article called it, the spinning heel kick. I don't know if they've come up with a name for it yet, but
I don't know, they better not. The black mass is a hell of a name.
Yeah, I just don't know if WWE's got it, trademarked.
Yeah,
but they'll come up with something for it. But that's what it was here. Boy, he got knocked right the heck out.
He ate that shit.
It's like in Friday. You got knocked the F out. So
I love the way he sold it. My man's arms went straight back.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just out like a light. But yeah, this was good. Cody obviously dressed all in white, and then Malachi Black all in black. I know Brandon said he wasn't a big fan of that before.
No, because I hate what they're doing. I know what they're doing, and it's stupid. fucking hate it.
Shawn Michaels and Taker.
Yeah, it's
A little bit.
stupid.
I get your point. I mean, yeah. I like now Cody. Like you said, he got booed here, so I don't know how much of the light side he's on. But to me though, if this leads to a Cody Rhodes heel turn, I'm fine with it. To be honest with you.
No, it'll be worse.
Well, I just think it would be a good time to maybe change it up a little bit. But he is going to be taking time off, too. People tend to forget this. Cody's is going to be filming another season of, what is it, the Big Thing or whatever it is that he does on TNT or whatever it is. So he's going to be taking some time off. So I bet you this match next week against Malachi Black is his send-off for a smidge. So we may not see Cody after this for a while, which is fine. Cody could use a break, and maybe he comes back, a changed man after what Malachi Black did. Maybe. That's just my speculation, but we'll see. But I wouldn't mind it, personally. After this,
the heel thing already though.
Well, he did it for a couple of weeks, and then he went back to being babyface because he dyed his hair black, and then he went right back to blonde, and he went babyface again.
Wow. Oh yeah,
they got skittish and they didn't pull the trigger. So they wanted to, but they didn't. So maybe they will. I don't know. We'll see what they do. But yeah, Miro was up next. He talked about Lee Johnson challenging him next week for the TNT championship. He said that Johnson was really talented, but nobody could take Miro's divine right away from him. No matter what, a glorious reckoning awaits Johnson. Now, there was something that Miro said also about Lana again, which is absolutely incredible. I'm going to see if I can pull it up real quick because I don't want to let it go without saying it because it's actually a really good comment here. Sorry, I got some dead air here, but I think it's important. Okay, he said, quote, "All I need in life is God and a double-jointed wife," quote unquote. Yeah. So this was good. I mean, I'm a big fan of this new Miro gimmick with the Redeemer stuff. So, but I want to see it in the ring more too, and I want to see Lana in AEW whenever her 90 days or whatever it is up from WWE. So that's coming. CJ Perry is on her way. After this, we had Christian Cage and the Jurassic Express versus the Hardy Family Office with Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, and Angelico with Matt Hardy at ringside. Yeah, again, typical six-man tag for the most part, right? At one point, Matt Hardy got involved on the outside. He gave a cheap shot to Jungle Boy, and Christian and Marco Stunt chased Hardy all the way to the back. Looked like Marco Stunt ran out of his own shoes. Either that or he tripped and rolled his ankle or something.
What is with Marco? Is he hurt? Like, what?
Well, there was a couple weeks or whatever he wasn't on the show. And now, granted, he's not always in the ring unless it's on Darker Elevation sometimes anyway. He's just kind of, I don't know if I'd call him a mascot, but yeah.
Well, why, though?
You're not a fan of Marco?
If they did something with him, I get that it's a size thing, but you said the same thing about Rey Mysterio. And then he's a how many time world champ?
True. Now, he's smaller than Ray, but by a lot.
Okay, cool.
I understand.
But still.
Yeah, he's just got that gimmick in wrestling. He's definitely not a very serious act for sure. It's hard to do that with a guy his size. In a sport that's completely full of or not as much as before. This is
your perfect opportunity to give guys like that the highlight.
Yeah, I could give you, and he does like I said, he mostly lives on Dark and Elevation, where he does get wins and stuff. Believe it or not, over there, but they've got developmental talent for there at the moment. But so yeah, I mean that's where you can see a lot of that. But yeah, on Dynamite, you're right, they don't use him a whole lot for sure. He's just kind of there on the outside and stuff, but. Yeah, maybe they could do more with him. I don't know. Quinn had control of Jungle Boy, but the latter escaped to tag in Luchasaurus, who ran wild, as we've talked about. Also, another guy a little bit underutilized. He hit a he hit a triple German suplex on all three opponents, which that was an interesting spot. Luchasaurus went for a double chokeslam on Private Party, but they fought out and took him as well as Christian out. Jungle Boy hit the rebound discus lariat and took out Angelico and Quinn before a frog splash from Luchasaurus and a frog splash from Christian got their team the win. So good finish, I thought, actually, all things considered.
I did too.
After the match,
I wish they would do something more.
Yeah, especially with Luchasaurus. I would rather see that more than Marco Stunt.
Yeah, 100%. But like,
it's the Jungle Boy show trying to get him over right now for the most part.
Cool, you could still do that.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, maybe we'd like to see a little more of it. It just depends on where they're going with this Christian stuff, as we're about to find out here. After the match, Blade.
We know where they're going with that.
Who was fighting Orange Cassidy up to the last few weeks. Apparently, they mentioned on commentary, good on them, because I didn't even remember this, but he works for the Hardy family office. Him and the Blade and the Buddy all work with the Hardy family office. So Blade lays out Christian with the brass knucks on the outside after the match. So, as I know you said you wasn't a big fan of the idea of Blade versus Christian, which we are going to get next week on Dynamite. They announced at the end of the show. But to me, it's just an extension of the Matt Hardy-Christian feud. It's not necessarily a Blade versus Christian feud. So, just kind of Christian running through some of these Hardy family office guys for the most part, from the sounds of things. They even mentioned that Christian could be in line for a world title match against Omega at some point. He's getting the wins. But, yeah, they still got some work to do, I think, before a lot of fans will get into that. You don't seem too impressed.
I hate it. It's just fucking brass knuckles. It's stupid.
Well, yeah, it's kind of his gimmick now, I think, after the whole...
it's stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, was it stupid when William Regal did it?
William Regal could wrestle.
Not a fan of the Blade, huh? I mean, I'm a fan of his wife. No doubt about that. Yeah, she's beautiful. All right, a Nick Cage video played. He's the deathmatch king, and he said Jericho's going to look in the mirror and know Nick Gage did that to him. Quote, MDK sure right. all day. So, yeah, we're going to get into that.
100% correct.
Oh, man. Earlier today, the Varsity Blondes cut a promo on Hart's behalf. They said she proved why she's one of the best athletes in the sport. It's the girl who's running around with Varsity Blondes. Julia Hart. Yeah, Thunder Rosa said she'd have her first official match as an AEW roster member tonight. She could do whatever the heck she wants. So, okay, cool. Thunder Rosa then wrestled Julia Hart. They performed chain wrestling at the start. Hart isolated Rosa in the corner, but then Rosa came back and did the same. Hart rolled out of the way of a quarter drop kick and hit a cartwheel clothesline. Rosa came back and picked Hart's ankle, locking on a knee bar and forcing Hart to reach the ropes for the break. Rosa hit the quarter drop kick and followed it up with the Fire Thunder driver for the quick pinfall win here. Definitely a showcase for Thunder Rosa. Good to have her in AEW as a full-time competitor. I think she'll boost the roster for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, so good to see her fully committed to AEW. And apparently, I think the story there was she wanted out of NWA, and Tony Khan, made that work and got her traded over to AEW. So he was, going to bat
who they got for it.
I don't know if it's like a trade. I think it's more like, he bought out her contract type situation. So, but yeah, either way, she got her wish, and hopefully she's happy now. Next week's lineup for AEW Dynamite, Homecoming at Daly's Place, which is the only show they're going to have at Daly's Place moving forward, unless, pandemic reasons make that different. Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black. TNT Championship Miro will defend against Lee Johnson. That'll be a squash, in my opinion. The Bunny versus Layla Hirsch in an NWA Women's Championship Eliminator match. Okay, I want to mention this. An NWA Women's Championship Eliminator match. 2 contenders. Winner gets the NWA champion. Not this thing that Monday Night Raw does where it's championship contenders matches where you have to beat the champion. This is 2 contenders, so I think this is the right way to do it. Christian Cage versus Blade also for next week, and I'm sure we're going by the end of this night. They also announced the third labor of Chris Jericho next week as well, which could be interesting based on what they said they were going to do. Brandon just looks like totally out of it. Just not a fan of the show, or just kind of tired?
No, it's just the Blade part.
Oh, okay. Still soaking on that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. To each their own. Yeah, we'll see where they go. I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but it's just going to be another thing for Christian to get.
I know.
Yeah, you know what they're doing. They're building up wins, which it seems boring, but again, from a booking standpoint, I get it.
I don't have to like it.
Can you tell me why you don't like it? Just out of...
I don't know. I think it ran on too long with Cassidy, and I just don't want that to happen again.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, where legitimately that the damn brass knuckles became the thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it became the centerpiece of that feud, yeah.
And it's just like...
It sounds like you got more problem with the brass knuckles part than you do Blade himself.
Maybe. That may be it. It's just like, to me, it's a cheap...
It may be his gimmick, but I think the stuff with Christian may just be next week, and that's it. Now the Hardy and Christian stuff, that stuff doesn't need to drag on too long either, which is what this is all centered around. But
because they already had a match.
Yeah, and Christian won. So what's the point?
Okay, what's the point?
Yeah, I think it doesn't need to go on much longer. But I get the whole idea of getting wins for Christian, setting up title opportunities.
You don't have to do it this way.
Agreed. Yeah, there's other ways you can't do it. You're right. There's nothing
not
wrong.
Against guys like the Blade. You can put faces against faces here.
You can. Yeah.
Cassidy could wrestle against Christian. Reasons being we're fighting on the road to championship. You know what I'm saying? It's a road to the heavyweight. But you got to come across him at some point. It doesn't always have to be this heel face situation.
Agreed. Now, to be devil's advocate there, though, you mentioned Orange Cassidy and Christian. The difference here is that, to me, sounds a little bit like WWE booking, because what they do is then they book themselves in a quarter. Who do you beat then? Christian, who you're trying to build, or Orange Cassidy, who you're also trying to build. So in this case, Christian goes up against a guy who should lose in Blade because he's not doing anything right now. He's there to develop guys.
But again, you have this whole thing of he's going against nobody. Yeah, he may have won, but
I understand that.
The real stake was that.
I understand, but there's also there's a fine line there between putting them against guys that is where no one gets over, like WWE does, where you book matches that you can't beat anybody, and then doing jobber matches. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find a nice balance there.
But if you're doing competitive matches against guys on the same playing field, of course one of them has to lose. That's the whole point of it,
right? But that's also why you don't necessarily book against two guys who you can't beat. You book.
You can't say that, because we just literally gave credence to the fact that you beat Paige here. You can still tell a story with a guy who is on the same playing field as another guy, but one of them wins and the other one loses. It doesn't diminish the other person because he lost. He literally lost against somebody who was on the same playing field as him. It was just his night, not his. You can still move forward from there.
Well, and they've done that with Jungle Boy, with Cody Rhodes. With Cody Rhodes, beat a lot of guys like that. So yeah, you're right. And maybe Orange Cassidy versus Christian isn't the best example, right? Maybe it ain't the best example, but you see what I'm saying though. Like you said, you can put them in competitive matches that is entertaining. I agree with you, but you got to be very careful about that. Sometimes it's easier to book like against the Blade, who we know Blade's going to lose this, or he should. Because Blade,
if the story isn't about that, then Blade could win, and it still plays towards a story here. Mm-hmm. It would make no sense for Christian to lose to the Blade, talent wise, right?
Right.
But if he loses to Blade, it furthers the story. Well, the story behind with Matt Hardy, which is like, again. It's fucking weird.
But to kind of flip your point on its head, who's to say Blade versus Christian, Blade doesn't get over more because he takes the loss and has a good showing? So it's the same sort of argument. I'm just like I said, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but yeah, we'll see what they do. Absolutely, but I'm an advocate for bringing back jobber matches, personally. I know they're boring, but that's basically what Dark and Elevation are, though, right now. They're developmental matches, and you pretty well know who's going to win when that show starts, but to me, it does build up wins and losses, and the right people do lose, and the winners are, and you don't beat people who don't need to be losing, and I think that's something WWE has lost sight of. A lot of times they feel like, okay, we got to put on an entertaining match, but by doing, and not only that, WWE does this thing where, okay, you may do a match like Cassidy and Christian, so Christian wins one week, the next week Orange wins, and nobody gets over. You know what I'm saying? If you do that, you have to have one clear winner, and that'd be the end of it. But they don't want to do that. So it's a fine line you got to walk in all these scenarios. But
we did that with Orange Cassidy and the Blade too. One week Blade won, the other week Cassidy won.
Yeah, I can agree with that's not. I mean, I can't remember. Did Orange end up? Well, no, because remember when Orange lost, I think it was in a tag. No, wait, Chris Statlander got the tag win. But yeah, there was some stuff in there. But yeah, if they do it there too, yeah, I mean, 50-50 booking's never good. But
it happens. It's whether we like it or not.
And I think they did a rubber though, and I think a rubber match. And I think Orange got the overall win. So if you're doing a 3-match series, yeah, that's different. But
it's still 50-50.
Not until the rubber match, but then it's not 50-50
until the rubber match.
Yeah, but
you know the outcome of that rubber match. He wasn't going to lose the final encounter. Like that's just not
against Blade.
That's not how boss fights work, man.
Right. Well, yeah, but yeah, it's a weird thing. But I see the merit to both sides of this argument here for sure. But yeah, got to play devil's advocate. Yeah,
it's like I said, you could still have a great competitive match against two top guys. They did it with Pac and well, no, because that ended fucking weird.
See what I'm saying?
When it was Pac and Orange Cassidy, that ended its bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways you could build the loser even at a loss, absolutely. But you got to do. I think it serves a company better, kind of like with the beating the champions thing, to maybe not do that every week.
Not every week, but
right?
Like I'm saying, you just can't have.
Right, you can't just have jobber matches. Yeah,
and then just a set of.
They've got to get they've got to get credible wins. You're not wrong, absolutely, but you also can't just do the credible win thing all the time and then everybody gets beat. Like I said, finally. After this, Jon Moxley was backstage. He's upset about not being able to make it to Japan. The second Moxley lost the title, Hiroshi Tanahashi showed up. He said Tanahashi's been avoiding and dodging him for months. Maybe Tanahashi's the only smart one here. The forbidden door may be open, but there's nothing good waiting for him on the other side. So clearly Moxley's upset at Tanahashi for not trying to step up to him when he was IWGP champion.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like Moxley's going to New Japan too.
Yeah, I think that's just storyline. They probably had that set up in the works, but whatever happened, and it kind of fell through.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm sure we'll get that.
Because I would love to see Moxley and Tanahashi.
Yeah, I think it will happen. I think it.
Sure.
It may be one of those things where Tanahashi challenges Lance Archer. Archer beats him. I mean, I don't know about New Japan, how they do all their booking and all that stuff.
I think Tanahashi will win it.
You really think so?
He's the only belt he hasn't held.
Do you think you take it off Archer that fast?
Before he retires, yeah.
It's possible. But again, I don't know all the history from New Japan. So
give your chance for Moxley to win it back.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. After this, we had the main event of the evening.
For Lance is that the case? I don't know though. If they would, I don't know.
And as we talked about, it's not an AEW belt though, so would it matter if he lost it? Yeah.
No, it wouldn't. But it's still one of those things that like, I don't know.
We'll see what they do. That's just kind of the AEW's MO. They leave you with questions, which is not a bad thing, but it does.
Yeah, but this is an AEW thing. It's a
right. Well, I'm just saying.
And like, I know, like in New Japan eyes, like of course they would want that belt over there, so they can defend it over there. Right now.
Right.
Especially with the whole second round of the Delta variant and shit. Like, why not bring all your belts home?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's very well true too. Maybe Archer does lose it. Kind of hope he doesn't, but then again, maybe Archer takes some time away from AEW and stays in Japan for a while.
Yeah,
and maybe that's because let's be honest, he ain't doing a whole lot in AEW at the moment. We talked about that, so maybe this is a good thing for him. And if that's the case, all right, good on him. Next up, we had the main event: Chris Jericho versus Nick Gage in a no rules match. The second labor of Chris Jericho in order to get a match at MJF here. This was brutal.
Disturbing.
Let's just run through this whole thing here. Gage came out with a pizza cutter and immediately swiped Jericho's arm with it. This looked like it sucked because it looked like he actually hit him with it. If that's the case, talk about like your pizza cut of all pizza cuts or paper cuts.
We had this conversation when we talked about it at work. So people do not realize how sharp a pizza cutter is.
Yeah.
I know firsthand how sharp a pizza cutter is. I gotta tell you, it fucking sucks.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't look fun here for sure. Gage hit a spine buster and a face wash. Out on the floor, Jericho sent Gage into a barricade. Back inside, Gage hit a superplex and a Falcon Arrow for 2. Jericho turned a running boot into the Lion Tamer, but Gage reached the ropes, so Jericho released the hold. Back to the floor, Gage drove Jericho face first into the ring post. Gage pulled some fluorescent light tubes from under the ring. At this moment, I realized it's about to get ugly, and I thought there's no way TNT was going to allow this kind of brutality, but here we go. Jericho had Floyd the Bat and surprised Nick Gage with it. Jericho was a crimson mass at this point. Gage avoided a swing of the bat and hit the choke breaker. He pulled out the pizza cutter and carved up Jericho's forehead. Once before the break and twice during the break, he got gouged with this thing. So yeah, Jericho's bleeding everywhere.
Now, I will say this. I don't know if it was perfect, if it was just coincidence or what. But this made me laugh so hard. So Gage starts cutting Jericho with the pizza cutter. Simultaneously, they go to picture-to-picture break, and it's an ad for Domino's Pizza. And I lost my mind.
I wasn't paying enough attention to the commercial, I'm not going to lie. But if I believe you, that's absolutely hysterical.
I lost it. I was like, yo, that's just funny.
That's amazing product placement right there. Coincidence or not, that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, whether it was intentional or coincidence, I do not know. But I promise you, it was funny as shit.
Yeah. During the break, after the pizza commercial, Gage brought chairs and a pane of glass into the ring, and oh my God. He propped Jericho below the glass, but Jericho popped up and they fought on the top rope. Jericho then hit a top rope hurricanrana, sending Nick Gage through this glass door, window, whatever you want to call it. And glass
tabletop. It was a glass tabletop.
Yeah, it goes everywhere.
Here's the thing. So I saw that, and I thought to myself, there is no way in hell Jericho's taking this.
No, I didn't want any guy to take this.
For a fact that it was going to be Nick Gage, and I knew this was about to suck ass.
Oh God! I mean, And like I said to you off the air, I feel like that it was probably some sort of gimmick glass. I'm guessing, but
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it is Nick Gage. He's nuts, but
The way it broke, maybe, but
I mean, it shattered into 1,000 pieces, and there were even shots of the crowd looked like they had some flying at them because they were kind of backing away. So I mean, but yeah, I mean, this looked spectacular, especially the eagle eye camera that they chose to shoot this on. That was a great. Everybody wants to get on to AEW for some of their production faux pas. This was well executed, in my opinion. Absolutely. So if that's the case, maybe they're tightening them screws around some of the production. We'll see. Jericho went for the code breaker, but Gage caught it and planted Jericho into the glass that was laying on the mat. That looked like it sucked too, much like thumbtack spot. Gage then broke light tubes over Jericho's head and back, you name it. He was breaking them over both of them. A straight pile driver onto glass, followed for two. This pile driver was stiff. I was afraid for Jericho here. It looked like he took that head first, just straight on. Gage grabbed a shard of glass and stabbed it into Jericho's head repeatedly. When he grabbed this shard from, it looked like one of the light tubes, I thought he was going to go for the neck thing like he did to David Arquette. I was like, please don't.
I was waiting for it. I was like, is he going to do it? Is he gonna
So,
do it?
luckily that did happen. Gage grabbed 2 bundles of light tubes from the outside. It was 4 light tubes all taped together on each bundle. He was about to smash one over Jericho's head, but Jericho spat green mist into Gage. So, nice little move there. A call back to his Painmaker. I'm assuming he did that in New Japan, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And there's a callback to like, crap. Is it
Tajiri? A lot of guys have used it over the years.
Buki, Great Muda?
Great Buddha. Yeah, that's who it was. Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. All the above. Then once he missed it to Great Gage's face, he smashed light tubes over Gage's head and hit the Judas effect, which was great. And of course, the Judas effects knocked him down onto more glass. So yeah, and poor Aubrey Edwards, you should have known it was going to go to this level when the match started because Aubrey already had her black gloves on to protect her hands.
Those were not regular.
No, those had to be padded.
Those were work gloves.
Yeah,
like she had
heavy duty. So
yeah, like mechanic gloves because she had to counter in glass.
Yeah.
So like,
I mean, she was probably still running into glass herself, just trying to get down for the cover. But yeah, so that should have been our first.
Credit. She was all in that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, Jericho wins with the Judas effects here. As soon as the match ends, MJF grabs a mic because MJF was on commentary here, by the way, and he said. The labor before he gets into what he says about the labor of Jericho, he says a line here that says, Jericho, when you're laying there as uncomfortable as you could be, this is an exact callback to CM Punk's pipe bomb from I think it was 2013 or something like that, 2014, because he said the same thing to John Cena when he was laying in the ring. So again, AEW is teasing the arrival of CM Punk here. I caught that, and I'm sure a lot of other people did as well. MJF said that the labor number 3 that Jericho has to hit a move off the top rope to win. Okay, interesting. Different, and for sure. He played a video from November 2019 when Jericho and MJF were in the ring cutting promos on each other, and he brought up the Juventud Guerrero in a promo. MJF then announced that he has a strong memory, and he's going to make Jericho face one of his oldest rivals, Juventud Guerrera, next week on Dynamite. The Juice, yes. So, back to the old WCW days we're going here. So,
what did I tell you? What did I say to you? I don't want this to be WCW.
Well, no, but this, I mean, it's a one-off. Come on, guy. But yeah, Brett is busting my balls here. But but yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't want AEW to become WCW either. But there's a lot of things they're not doing that WCW did. Hence, no main eventers who are old guys.
Hulk Hogan shows up.
If Hulk Hogan shows up, like I told you offline, I will denounce AEW at that point. Because it's like, no. If the NWO shows up, Hall and Nash as well, they waddle out there with, Nash's 2 bad legs and, Scott Hall just barely walking out there, Hogan with his orange-faced goblin, as Mike would say. You're not, no, just shut the whole thing down. It's over at that point because, no, Hogan killed Impact or TNA. He killed WC. No, let's not do that. But no, I don't think we have anything to worry about here. We joke. But, yeah. But, yeah, Juventud.
When the realization that it is actually Hoovy, I was like, yo, I remember back in WCW when it was Hoovy,
Eddie,
Psychosis, and
whole cruiserweight division in general.
Yeah, but Juventud Guerrera in Psychosis. What was the big guy's name?
La Parka?
No.
I don't
Super
know who.
crazy.
Okay. Ultimo Dragon, those guys, all of them.
Yeah. But they had the LWO, Latino World Order.
Mm-hmm.
I fucking loved them. I remember one time they came out on John Deere tractors,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
mowers, but they instead of John Deere was Juan Deere. Dude, I fucking loved it.
Yeah.
But I love those guys in the ring,
Mhm.
hands down. I give WCW so much shit, but at the time, their cruiserweight division was the best thing ever.
Mhm.
You had Billy Kidman, Shane Holmes, what was that group? There was the three man, the band. It was Shane Holmes.
I don't remember.
Uh,
Holmes or Helms?
no, yeah, sorry,
Okay,
Shane
I was gonna say
Helms.
the Hurricane. I got you.
Yeah,
Before he's a
Shane
Hurricane.
Helms. There was three of them. I can't remember what the fuck their names were.
It'll come to you about 3 a.m.
I know,
But
all those guys.
right.
You had Billy Kidman. You had uh, Rey Mysterio,
Mhm.
Alex Wright. Uh, I'm leaving out all these fucking
Sure,
names.
Chris
And they're all, I can
Benoit, Eddie
see all their
Guerrero.
faces.
There's a
Yeah,
bunch of great guys there.
Perry Saturn.
Perry
They,
Saturn.
they
Yeah.
had the best.
Dean
cruiserweight.
Malenko.
Dean Malenko.
Yeah.
Um,
It goes on and on.
Disco Inferno.
Yeah, for that matter. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely
But their
stellar.
cruiserweight division was so dope.
Yeah.
And I loved every bit. Hell, even Conan was in a
Yeah,
couple
absolutely.
cruiserweight.
Yeah.
Their cruiserweight division was so dope. But I loved because the one thing that they were doing that WWE at the time was not doing and didn't have was the luchador style wrestlers.
Yeah.
So you had all these masked guys, La Parka included, doing things that you didn't see on Monday nights.
Right. Which is why I love Ray Phoenix so much. He's doing that here.
Yeah, and I fucking loved every bit of it.
Yeah.
But seriously, Juventud Guerrera and those guys like Psychosis on them were my top favorite at that time. Luchador wrestlers, I loved watching them.
Now, I'm
So
not saying. Oh, go ahead.
No, that was it.
I was just gonna say I'm not saying I want AEW necessarily do this because again you'd have the comparison to WCW, but I wouldn't necessarily mind to see a light heavyweight division in AEW. No, that'd be fine.
From the cruiserweight division, you have a lot of guys. I mean, hell, this is again a spot where Marco Stunt could.
Yeah, that would be another spot he could maybe. Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Hell, even Jungle Boy. with
Fuego del
five.
Sol, all these guys from Dark are all
the
Luchas,
Lucha Bros.
Yeah, right? Or Ray Phoenix for that matter. He could be the first champion in my eyes. But yeah, I mean, because he's doing stuff that's innovative and so smooth and always hits
even
it.
Pac would be,
Yeah,
could
Pac.
be a part of
There's
that.
a lot of guys you could do that with.
Cutler, Tozawa. Do something other with those guys more than what you're doing currently too.
Speaking of which, where's the Cruiserweight Championship on WWE? Whatever happened to that? Am I the only one who just thought of that? Like,
Is it on 205 Live?
maybe. Well, I don't know if they even do that show. Maybe it's on UK.
Yeah, they still show it because I've seen it. Like
Let's
the
go
highlights from the shit.
I couldn't
It's
even
on
tell you.
Fridays.
Oh wait, no, it's Kushida who has it. My bad. Sorry,
Who?
Kushida.
Oh, yeah,
Kushida. Yeah. Why am I don't know. I'm kind of blanked on it. For whatever reason, I just hadn't seen it in a while. My bad. All right, brain. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Kushida has that.
Yeah, you're right. Boy, we look so stupid right now.
I feel like an asshole now because I love Kushida.
But for whatever reason, it just felt like they haven't done
Man, that is
Yeah,
terrible.
terrible.
Yeah,
Oh, my
dude, I'm
bad.
like with you.
Yeah. I was like, for whatever reason, I was like, wait a minute, 205? No. All right, but Juventud Guerrero. I'll say this though, I didn't even know he still wrestled. To be
I
honest,
didn't either.
I don't know if
He's probably in Mexico.
maybe so, but obviously Jericho and Juventud are probably not going to have the same level of rematch they would have had 25 years ago.
The man literally said 15 years ago, and I'm like,
A little further back.
he's kind of,
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, Jericho can still go okay, but they're not going to have those
You
old
ain't
WCW
getting-
men. No.
So you ain't getting that.
But it still could be entertaining depending on if Hoovy still wrestles. Again, like I'm not seeing him since WCW, so I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see. They didn't show up here at the end of this show, but we're going to get him next week from the sounds of things. And after that, I think Jericho's still got what 2 more labors after the third one. So
Here's
yeah.
the thing. So here's my concern with this,
Mhm.
and hear me out.
Okay.
I don't want this to be a thing where Jericho gets to the last labor and then just gets screwed over. which
Yeah.
I feel like is going to happen.
Well, I think I have faith that they're going to get to MJF. Now, whether MJF loses is another question. I think Jericho may lose the final match, but he'll get to MJF, I think. But maybe you're right.
No,
I don't know.
he could lose to MJF here. There's nothing Jericho needs
Because
to
Jericho
gain.
could be so beat up, destroyed by the time he gets to MJF. It's a walk in the park for him. And I'm sure that's how they'll play most of the match. Jericho will take most of the offense. And, but yeah, maybe that's, but I honestly think they ain't going to build this to not deliver.
That makes the most sense.
But then again, they built Adam Hangman Page. They didn't deliver it tonight. So you never know. But I still think they are going to deliver Adam Hangman Page. It's just for whatever reason, whether it was planned or not, that didn't go so well tonight for Adam Hangman Page. But yeah, I think the Jericho thing is definitely happening. But who knows? Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe that's.
I hope not, man. I hope it doesn't end like that. Like 100% hope it does not end like that.
Obviously, I don't think Juventud and Jericho are going to have a match like tonight. It's going to be a different style. Hopefully, Jericho will be healed up from that because it's going to be more. They may try some cruiserweight stuff and things like that, some luchador stuff. But
bananas, bro.
But I do like the way the labors of Jericho are going, though. It's something unexpected each week. Like, we didn't expect Nick Gage. The Shawn Spears thing was kind of, okay, that's a Pinnacle member. At that point, I thought, okay, he's going to run through all the Pinnacle. No, they're not doing that. They're going a different direction, bringing in people we didn't know they were going to do.
And that's what I'm glad.
I'm
glad that they went that way.
Yeah, I am, too.
I was like, I'm kind of Pinnacle and Inner Circle.
Yeah, and I'm glad they're doing it. And the other guys and the factions are doing other things, and I think that's good for the time. And if you want to come back to the Pinnacle and a circle eventually, fine, but give it a break.
Yeah, and I also said I'll give credit where credit is due. I said the best thing for them to do after they did that whole, last blowout match that Pinnacle and them had was to separate them, let them do their own thing, kind of solo dolo for a little bit, and then if you want to revisit it a little while later, cool.
I mean,
I'm kind of glad this is where we are with that.
I am too, and with the injury to Cash Wheeler too, that may be even on a little bit more hiatus than it was. So we'll see where that goes. But I thought overall this was outside of the first 10-man tag, which we had some issues with. Still a fun match, all things considered.
Yeah.
But I thought this was overall a pretty good show for AEW, better than the last few weeks in my opinion, with some of the surprises, the twists and turns. So I'm looking forward to see what they do next week, and definitely looking forward to that second episode of Rampage in a few weeks. See if we get some. Phil Brooks showing up. We'll see what happens. But the real question here is, guys, what do you guys think about this week's AEW Dynamite Fight for the Fallen? Please comment down below. Let us know. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you also get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
Did you hit the button? I'm sending Nick Gage to your house.
Ooh. Yikes.
Mean that shit.
Yeah. Ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right. I swear to God that I can drop you, bro. Yeah. I got a shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable.